When Moses arrived in Egypt, he went to see Pharaoh with his brother Aaron, just as God had told him. When they met with Pharaoh, to show they had God with them, Moses threw his staff to the floor, where straight away it became a snake. God had told Moses that this would happen. Pharaoh just smiled at Moses and Aaron, and then, without a word, he snapped his fingers and in walked 3 men. Pharaoh whispered in their ears. They then threw their staffs to the floor, and they became snakes as well, just like Moses and Aaron's. You see, these men were Pharaoh's magicians. Without a word, the snake from Moses' staff swallowed up all the other snakes. This made Moses smile. Surely Pharaoh must see God is with us and will let the Israelites go. But Pharaoh shook his head and said, Nice try, but the Israelites belong to me and they work for Egypt, and I will not let them go. So began the different plagues on Egypt to try and get the Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. First, there was all the water turning to blood. His magicians couldn't change it back to water, so it stayed blood for 3 days. But he wouldn't change his mind. Then Moses sent a plague of frogs. They were everywhere, in the palace, in the houses, beds, ovens, cupboards, jumping everywhere. Eventually, when the palace was overrun with frogs, Pharaoh begged Moses, Pray to the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people, and I will let you go. Moses prayed, and all the frogs died. When Pharaoh saw that all the frogs were dead, he was relieved and changed his mind, saying, The Israelites belong to me, and they work for Egypt. I will not let them go. There were many other plagues that followed, gnats and flies. All the livestock got sick and died. The Egyptians were covered in sores. Hail came down and killed all the crops. Locusts came and ate all the grass and everything that was green. And then there was complete darkness. Nobody left their homes. It was a bit like being in lockdown, but nobody could see where they were going. Every time Pharaoh said he would let the Israelites go if God put things back to normal. But then, every time, he kept changing his mind. You'd think he would have learned his lesson and let the Israelites go, but he didn't. If you thought all the other plagues were bad, there was one last plague, the 10th plague. That was way worse than any of the others. God told Moses and Aaron, This will be the last plague on Pharaoh and Egypt. After this, they will let the Israelites go. Around midnight, I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will die, even the son of Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron warned Pharaoh, but he still refused to listen. Yet the Lord had special instructions for Moses and Aaron so that the Israelites would stay safe. The Israelites should paint around their doorways with the blood of a lamb, and they would be safe. The next day, there was a great sadness amongst the Egyptians. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Enough is enough. Go, leave my people. You and all the Israelites, go. Worship the Lord as you want. Take all your animals and get out of here. The Israelites gathered up gold and silver from the Egyptians, who were glad to see them leave, and they left with Moses. Now during the day, God sent a column of cloud to guide them. Then, as it went dark, it changed to a column of fire, like a massive vertical barbecue. When Pharaoh heard that all the Israelites had finally left, would you believe it? He changed his mind again. He gathered an army of soldiers and chariots and went after Moses, Aaron, and all the Israelites. When the Israelites saw in the distance that Pharaoh was coming after them, they started to get worried. But Moses told them, Do not be afraid. God has protected you before. He will protect you again. In time, when the Israelites reached the Red Sea, They realized they were trapped with the sea in front of them and Pharaoh with his army behind them. The Israelites started to panic, couldn't see how they could possibly escape. They started to think they should have stayed as slaves under the Egyptians and not tried to escape at all. But God had told Moses what to do. So he stood by the water's edge, held out his staff over the water, and as he did, all the people were amazed. The water split into two. Right before their eyes, a path appeared through the middle of the sea. Enormous walls of water on each side. Fish suddenly finding themselves without water, dropping to the floor and flapping about amongst the seaweed. Moses then led the Israelites into this pathway through the sea. There was a few slips and trips as the people made their way along the seabed, looking to the left and right, seeing shoals of fish swimming through the walls of water. Pharaoh's army, seeing that they might get away, followed at speed, whipping their horses to pull their chariots faster and faster along the pathway. When the Israelites had finally made it through, safe, and were on dry land again, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and God closed the path. There was a crash like thunder as the walls of water came crashing back together, swallowing up all the chariots and riders, all of Pharaoh's army. Not one of them survived. That was the day the Lord saved the Israelites from the Egyptians. When the Israelites saw what God had done for them, they trusted him, and they trusted that Moses would be a good leader for them as they traveled to the land God had promised them, a land flowing with milk and honey.